Right, so let's discuss about the Earthen Goblet by Harindanath Chattopadhyay. Right, so let's read the poem first of all. The Earthen Goblet. O silent goblet, red from head to heel. How did you feel when you were being twirled upon the potter's wheel? There, before the potter gave you to the world, I felt a conscious impulse in my clay to break away from the great potter's hand that burned so warm. I felt a vast feeling of sorrow to be cast into my present form. Before that fatal hour, that saw me captive on the potter's wheel and cast into this crimson goblet sleep. I used to feel the fragrant friendship of a little flower whose root was in my bosom buried deep. The potter has drawn out the living breath of me and given me a form which is the death of me. My past unshapely natural state was best, with just one flower flaming through my breast. Right. So, what is this poem about? This is a poem based on the theme of life. Let's look at the theme, the earthen goblet. Right. Now, the earthen goblet refers to a tumbler. So, the life story of this tumbler tells us something about life. Let's see what that message is. O silent goblet, red from head to heel, beautiful goblet. How did you feel when you were being twirled? The writer, or rather the speaker's little goblet, beautiful goblet. How did you feel? When you were turned or changed into this state upon the potter's wheel. So before the potter gave your life as a beautiful earthen goblet, how did you feel? How's your life? I felt a conscious impulse. I felt like, there was force, something kind of a power, something like an urge coming from my mind. I want to break away. I want to run away from the hands of the potter. I felt vast. He can't even describe how much he felt. Vast feeling of sorrow or sadness. Why? He was changed into a present form. What is a present form? Probably not today. If he is an earthen goblet, earlier he was, or rather, it was just a ball of clay. And he explains that clearly. Before that fatal hour, it was an hour of death for him. One life died and he got another life. That saw me captive on the potter's wheel and cast into this crimson goblet sleep. So earlier, I was not like this. I was made into be like this. I felt captive. It was like I was caught, put here. It's as if I'm sleeping now in one state. But earlier, I used to feel the fragrant friendship of a little flower. I was live earlier, whose root was in my bosom buried deep. Earlier, I had a friend. It's a flower, so it also symbolizes love. So he had a loving, carefree, happy life. But today, what has happened? Everything has changed after that fatal hour of making him change. The potter has drawn out the living breath of me. Yes, I'm living. I look beautiful, but my real life is gone. And given me a form which is the death of me. My real self is killed, and a new self is given to me, and I don't like it. That's shown through the tone. My past, unshapely natural state was best. Earlier, I didn't have shame. I was just, down on the floor as part of nature. But I liked that. That was okay for me. That was the best time in my life. With just one flower flaming through my breast. And I had what I liked. I had love in my life. So, like that, throughout the poem, we see actually the lamentation of the earthen goblet. It's a beautiful goblet today, but who is not happy about that physical outward beauty. He always thinks about the past, the simple past he had, and he is actually having a flashback, thinking about what he had earlier. we give a meaning. We say that, okay, ball of clay is shapeless, not beautiful, but out of that, if you make something like, maybe an ornament, maybe a cup, right, it is better than that ball of clay. But that is a meaning that we humans give, right? So we make meanings when we are living in society, right? So, but the earthen goblet says, I don't want that. I would rather be, like earlier. Now, that is the basic idea the writer brings out. But we can read beyond the lines more and more. The earthen goblet not only actually symbolizes, or just rather directly talks about a goblet and a ball of clay. You can see the use of I. You can see the use of me when the writer talks about the earthen goblet. So there's personification. So with the use of the goblet, the poet actually refers to something. What is that? To a man who was born and also who lived for most of his time in a village. And this rural man was just like a ball of clay. He had the people he loved around him. Probably he had a fiance or a girlfriend, which is symbolized by the flower. But at one point, he had to come out of the village, maybe in search of an occupation or a job, maybe in search of money, and then he had to change. Maybe his attire, his clothing pattern changed, maybe the way he worked changed, maybe he could not go back to the village and be with the loved ones again. Everything changed. So today, he may be successful. Outwardly, he is great, like the earthen goblet, very beautiful, red and, very nice, right? But like that, the man also can be, very handsome, very posh, very successful, very rich, etc. But within him, he may not be happy. He may be always thinking about the village, about the loved ones there, right? So this is not just a poem about a goblet. It is a poem about life, how we have to change at certain moments, willingly or unwillingly. And when we change, sometimes we are happy about the change. Sometimes we are not happy about the change. And the truth is that, as the writer says, if we are with the nature, if we are close to the nature, life is better. In life, we can be happy. But whenever we go after outward appearance or material things, our happiness may run away. So that is the kind of meaning that you can get out of this poem. So sense-wise, the poet actually reveals the feelings of a ball of clay, which is a part of nature. The speaker questions the earthen goblet in order to know how it felt about its creation on the potter's wheel. The goblet frankly answers, saying that it felt that it was cruel to be turned from its original ball of clay into a new shape. This poem has another deeper implication as well. That is, it suggests how a person from a rural area, much attached to rural life, is made to undergo change in the modern society with no choice. The person was brought to the city and was made to adapt to the modern life despite his disinterest. So, themes wise, the poem is based on life, changes in life, nature, effects of intervening in the nature, right? Techniques, symbolism, comparison, and contrasting. And you can think about the model question. Nature and the beings in it do not like intervention බොරු මැදිහත් වීමට කැමති නැහැ of the modern man to their lives. Beauty in the eyes of a modern man is not in their dictionary. Comment on the quotation referring to the poem. Right, let's look at it word by word. Nature and the beings in it do not like intervention, මැදිහත් වීම of the modern man. Right. So who symbolizes nature in the poem? The earthen goblet, the flower also, right? So do they like intervention of the modern man? No. But a modern man intervened to the lives of the ball of clay. A ball of clay එකකින් අරගෙන වෙන දෙයක් නිර්මාණය කරා. So today that ball of clay is not happy. Right? So that's what you have to explain. Next point. Beauty in the eyes of a modern man is not in their dictionary. මෙතන their කියලා අදහස් කරන්නේ natural. එහෙම නැත්නම් nature එකට සම්බන්ධ අයගේ ශබ්දකෝෂය තුල නැත්නම් ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ dictionary එක තුල මේ outward beauty කියන එක එච්චර අදාළ වෙන දෙයක් නෙමෙයි. Right? So that is why the earthen goblet later on in the poem says, I was happy as a ball of clay. I was shapeless yet happy and it was okay. But the modern man gives a meaning. Okay, if you have this shape, if you have these qualities, if you have these material things, you're successful, you're great. So it's the meaning that the modern man gives. But outward appearance is so different from the inner happiness. So throughout the poem, the writer talks about these things, right? So you can use them and write your answers and practice more.